Part 1, The Door. The golden letters above the arched glass entrance gleamed in the early evening light. Grand Wild Hotel. EST 1894, a tradition of excellence. It was the kind of hotel that didn't just offer rooms, it sold a fantasy. Black SUVs lined the circular driveway, valets in crimson jackets guided luggage carts with white gloves, and a faint perfume of money, champagne, and polished marble clung to the air. Will stood at the bottom step of the entrance, boots caked in dry earth. His pants were faded, fraying at the knees. The flannel shirt he wore was damp with sweat from a long day under the sun. A tool pouch hung from his belt, jangling slightly with each breath. He looked up at the glass doors, taking a slow, cautious step forward. A wave of cold air met him the moment the doors slid open, and with it, her voice. "Excuse me, sir." "Sir, I think you're in the wrong place." Will paused on the threshold, blinking under the brightness of the chandelier above. The lobby was grand, Italian marble floors, tall glass vases with red orchids, and behind the wide, semicircular reception desk, a woman with a headset and perfect posture. She leaned forward, lips tight. "I said," she gestured toward the entrance with an open palm, "you're not allowed in here looking like that." A few people turned to glance. A man in a navy blue suit nudged his companion. A child pointed. The lobby seemed to inhale all at once. Will cleared his throat. "I have a reservation." She blinked slowly, disbelieving. "Under what name?" He hesitated. "William Collins." The receptionist tapped something on her screen, her long nails clacking softly. Her tone turned colder. "Sir, this is the Grand Wild. I don't know where you came from, but we don't accept walk-ins from the street. Especially not during gala week." "I made the reservation a month ago," Will said, voice firm now. "Credit cards under the same name. You'll find it." She looked him over, head to toe, eyes lingering with surgical cruelty on his boots. "Do you even have ID?" Will reached into his back pocket and slowly unfolded his wallet. His hands were rough, calloused. Sun-scarred skin told stories of years on job sites, scaffolds, highways. The woman took the ID and scanned it briefly, then held it like it might contaminate her. "I'll call the manager," she muttered. He nodded. Behind the counter, whispers began between two other reception staff members. One of them glanced at Will and giggled. A bellhop, pushing a cart of Louis Vuitton luggage, turned his head just enough to avoid eye contact. Will didn't flinch. He looked up at the chandelier. It reminded him of the stories his mother used to tell about places she'd never seen, about glass that sparkled like frozen stars. She'd once said, "Maybe one day, baby, you'll walk into a place like that like you own it." He wasn't here to own it. He was here because of a promise. And right now, he was being treated like garbage. Part 2, The Call. The receptionist stepped aside, whispering furiously into a sleek cordless phone. Her eyes kept darting toward Will, like he might suddenly track mud across the marble or steal a vase. Will stood still. He wasn't angry. Not yet. He had learned a long time ago that anger didn't open doors, it closed them faster. He'd been locked out of enough rooms to know the rules of this game. Still, his jaw was tight and the weight of being watched, not seen, but watched, settled heavy on his shoulders. The woman returned, smugness in her spine. "Mr. Collins," she said, putting a thick emphasis on the name, "I'm afraid we're not finding any active reservation under your name. Did you perhaps make it at another hotel?" Will's lips tightened. It was confirmed. "Email, deposit, all of it. Check your back-end system." "We've checked every system." "Then check again." She blinked, almost startled by the quiet force in his voice. A new voice entered the scene, smooth and detached. "Is there a problem here?" A man in a navy suit with a name tag, Gregory/front office manager, stepped behind the desk. The receptionist instantly straightened. This man claims to have a reservation under the name William Collins. There's nothing in the system. He's also, she looked at Will's clothes again, not appropriately dressed for the lobby. Will didn't flinch. I'm here for a room and nothing else. I don't care about your lobby. Gregory gave a neutral smile that didn't reach his eyes. Let's not escalate. I'll double-check personally. Would you mind stepping over to the side while we sort this out? Will nodded and moved aside. Gregory leaned over the terminal, typed something. He paused. Then typed again. And again. The receptionist leaned in. What is it? Gregory didn't answer right away. His brow furrowed slightly. Will caught it. You found it. Gregory stood up. His voice was calm, but strained. There's a record. A private booking. Full suite. Prepaid. The receptionist's face froze. Gregory continued, avoiding Will's eyes. It was booked through an internal contact. A VIP flag was placed. I'm not sure how we missed it. Will raised an eyebrow. Maybe you were too busy judging my boots. Silence. The receptionist looked away, lips a thin, tight line. Gregory cleared his throat. We apologize for the inconvenience, Mr. Collins. We'll have your suite ready immediately. Don't bother, Will said. He turned, slowly, and walked out of the lobby. Not fast. Not angry. But with the weight of dignity reclaimed. Just as the doors hissed open again to let him out, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out and saw the name flash on the screen. Emily, caseworker. He sighed and answered. Yeah. Her voice was warm but tired. Will, did you check in? Almost. Almost? They weren't expecting someone in overalls. A pause. Then she laughed softly. You could have changed clothes. I didn't have time. I came straight from the site. I figured. Listen, everything's set. You're still doing this, right? Will looked back through the glass doors. The chandelier above the lobby twinkled like it didn't care about anything that happened beneath it. I gave my word, he said. I just didn't realize how much I'd have to prove it. Part 3, The Suite. The elevator chimed softly as it reached the top floor. Will stepped out, now wearing a fresh white button-up and slacks, borrowed from the complimentary guest closet in his suite. Even the clothes felt like a costume. Too crisp. Too empty. The hallway was quiet, carpeted like it was afraid to make sound. Gold-trimmed sconces glowed softly along the walls. Room 1209 stood at the end, a polished plaque next to it that read. The Hudson Suite, private access only. Will held the keycard, but paused before swiping. For a moment, he just stood there, staring at the door like it might speak to him. He'd stayed in motels, shacks, even once in his pickup for 2 weeks straight. But this? This place wasn't just expensive, it was designed to keep certain people out. And now here he was, holding the key. Not for luxury. Not for revenge. For something else. He slid the card. A soft green blink. The door opened with a sigh. Inside, the suite was all light and quiet power, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view over the Manhattan skyline, an open bar lined with crystal bottles, velvet chairs that looked more sculptural than usable. A black grand piano sat untouched near the window. He didn't belong here. But she did. Will walked past the mirrored hallway and into the sitting room. On the table lay a simple folder, black, embossed with silver lettering. Emily Thompson, Grand Wild Placement Package. He opened it. Inside was a printed itinerary, a guest access card, and a letter. Typed. Signed by her. The handwriting at the bottom, though, that was his. She deserves a night she'll never forget. Will. He remembered writing that 6 months ago, when he took the job in Queens. He worked double shifts, 7 days a week. Everything he made, poured into this one night. Not for him. For Sarah, his daughter. She was 12 when her mother died. He raised her alone. No vacations. No birthday clowns. No sleepovers. Just school, lunchboxes, and long days waiting for her to smile again. And now, Sarah was 17. She loved jazz. She loved city lights. She'd never been to a hotel in her life. Tonight was supposed to be hers. A full suite. A surprise. A dress picked out with Emily's help. Room service. Live music downstairs. Magic. But the system had called her not eligible. Said she was still technically a ward. That she couldn't check in alone. So Will had come instead. To walk the path. To make sure it was real. To say, you belong here, baby. Even if they won't see it yet. He stood by the window, looking down at the city. Behind him, the soft knock of room service. A waiter entered with a trolley, 2 covered plates, silver domes gleaming. He nodded at Will, set the table without a word, and left just as quietly. Will sat down. He lifted the lid. Steak. Potatoes. Asparagus arranged like art. He smiled faintly. Sarah hated asparagus. The second plate, untouched. Still covered. He left it that way. For her. For the night she would one day claim. Part 4, The Girl in the Lobby. The Hudson suite was quiet long after the food went cold. Will sat with the lights dimmed, jacket draped over the back of the velvet chair, hands folded in front of him. He hadn't touched the second plate. It sat there, still warm under its silver dome, like a promise waiting to be kept. He stared out at the city as it shimmered, the horizon painted in gold and smog. It all looked fake from up here, like a movie set. Clean, framed, untouchable. From ground level, the streets were cracked and loud and real. Up here, they were just decoration. A knock shattered the stillness. Not a light tap. A knock with purpose. Will rose slowly, unsure. He hadn't called for anything. He opened the door. In the hallway stood Emily, his daughter's caseworker, wearing a trench coat and holding a nervous smile. Behind her was a girl. 17. Black hair. Converse shoes and a blue hoodie that looked 2 sizes too big. Sarah. His Sarah. He froze. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Emily broke the silence. I know it wasn't protocol. I pulled strings. She lowered her voice. If anyone asks, she's under supervised placement. I'm the supervisor tonight. Will's eyes filled with water. He nodded once, hard. Sarah stepped forward slowly. She looked around the suite with wide eyes. It was like watching a child walk into Disneyland for the first time. Holy crap, she whispered. This place looks like a Bond villain lives here. Will laughed. Choked on it. You hungry? Sarah grinned. Always. They sat together. He lifted the dome of her untouched plate like it was part of a magic trick. The food still steamed. Wait, she said, frowning. You got all this for me? Will shrugged. Wasn't gonna eat 2 steaks by myself. You could have just brought me pizza, you know. I wanted you to feel like you belong here. Sarah blinked. Why wouldn't I belong here? Will swallowed. Some people, some places, they decide who belongs before you even open your mouth. She looked at him for a long second. Well, they're idiots. He smiled. Yeah. They are. Part 5, The Lobby again. The morning came softly, bleeding through the blackout curtains in dusty rays. The city outside was already awake, honking, rushing, living, but inside the Hudson suite, time had slowed. Sarah was curled up on the plush armchair, fast asleep with a throw blanket wrapped around her like armor. The remains of chocolate mousse and tea sat on the table beside her. Will stood quietly by the window. He had barely slept. But for the first time in years, he wasn't tired. Something in him had lifted, something heavy and constant. A lifetime of feeling like a door was always about to close in his face. Last night, he opened one. Not with money. Not with power. But by showing up, even when the world told him he shouldn't. He left Sarah a note on the dresser. Order room service. Watch the skyline. You're home wherever you stand tall. Love you always, Dad. Then he put on his work clothes, yes, the same ones from yesterday. The dusty boots. The worn shirt. The creased jeans. Not as an act of defiance. Not to prove anything. But because that was him. And if they couldn't handle that, they never deserved to call themselves grand anything. He stepped into the lobby again at 9:03 a.m. Everything was just as polished, just as silent. But today, he walked different. No hesitation. No guilt. Just presence. As he passed the front desk, the receptionist, the same woman from the night before, looked up, startled. Her perfect smile stumbled. "Mr. Collins," she said quickly. I hope everything was to your satisfaction." Will paused. He looked her straight in the eyes. "You didn't see me yesterday," he said. "You saw a uniform." She opened her mouth. Closed it again. He continued, voice calm, but solid. "I came here so my daughter could know what it feels like to be welcomed. To belong somewhere expensive. Somewhere safe." A few other staff nearby turned slightly, pretending not to listen but hanging on every word. He took a breath. "Next time you see someone walk in looking like me, maybe don't assume they're lost." The receptionist's eyes dropped. "Yes, sir." Will nodded once. Then he turned and walked out. As the doors opened and the city swallowed him again, he didn't look back. He didn't need to. The girl he'd raised, the world he'd braved, the respect he'd earned, they were all still behind those doors. And he belonged. Not just in the hotel. But in the world that had tried so long to keep him out.